Green Day's career heading into the 2010s was full of optimism. The previous decade had possibly been Green Day's most successful to date with the release of 3 separate albums. The decade started off a little rough with the release of Warning in 2000, which was a commercial and critical flop, but people have since warmed up to it a lot and now see it as one of the Green Day's best works. Following that was a greatest hits compilation and a B-sides compilation, followed by an entire album getting stolen, supposedly, and then finally, in 2004, we got our next studio album, American Idiot. This one is pretty obscure, to be honest. I mean, it only sold 16 million copies worldwide, got some of the best reviews of their career, and features some of the band's biggest hits, and tells a cohesive story with its lyrics, and yet nobody talks about it. Weird, huh? Then, following that, we got a brief hiatus before we got 21st Century Breakdown in 2009, also known as American Idiot If They Locked In, by me. Do you like the more theatrical aspect of American Idiot? Do you want more orchestrated elements in your punk rock opera? Well then, 21st Century Breakdown is the album for you. This album also did pretty well. It's considered Green Day's greatest by many. Not me, unfortunately. This is just trying way too hard to sound epic and grand and kinda hinders the experience. Beginning in the 2010s, Green Day adapted American Idiot into a Broadway musical and released an album version of the musical the same year. I'm not really a big fan of the Broadway show. The original album was better, but I imagine the experience is a lot more enjoyable if you actually see it live. If only Green Day actually cared to fucking travel to Scotland and do it here, then maybe I would see it live, but no! I'm not really sure how to analyse this show since the plot is basically the same as the American Idiot album. No duh. So yeah, no ratings and I still need to check it out. So, what was going to be Green Day's first big studio project of the decade? Well, I guess the thought process went like this. What if we took everything that we've been building up for the past 8 years and just don't do that? Oh yeah, can we get high as fuck while writing these lyrics so they come out as disgustingly obscene as possible? Yeah, thanks. Oh yeah, and we're gonna make 3 whole albums in less than a year that are all using this exact method. This totally won't suck total dick. Spoilers, it sucked total dick. Now, I would be lying if I said I like the trilogy, because I don't. It is very bad most of the time, mostly near the end. But I would also be lying if I said I hated it. The trilogy is by far Green Day's most interesting experiment to analyse to me, because it just does so many things wrong and so many things right that I can't help but be fascinated by it. It's a car crash you can't look away from. So rather than going by track, I'm going to review each album as is and give my opinions in a brief segment about each. Because I don't think I have the will to analyse 37 songs in one video with the same sort of writing style as my other analysis videos. Fuck off. Anyways, first up we have Uno, released in September of 2012. Okay, I'm gonna say it. Uno is one of, if not the most underrated Green Day album, period. Yes, even more underrated than Warning, more underrated than both Lookout albums combined, even more underrated than another album we'll get to later. Uno might not be the best album in the world, but I did enjoy my time with it. Most of the songs are very solid, and it also has one of my favourite Green Day songs of all time, Nuclear Family. And yes, when I say every track is underrated, I really do mean every track. Stay the Night, Carpe Diem, Let Yourself Go, Kill the DJ, Fell For You, Loss of Control, Troublemaker, and everything else. Except Oh Love. That song can go fuck itself for all I care. Now I will admit this album isn't perfect. Troublemaker and Kill the DJ have some really crunchy lyrics, like
I like your BMX jets with the tattoo of a big sipping glow.
ugh! Fun fact, the song Kill the DJ off of this album held the record for the Green Day song with most swear words for 13 whole years until the Saviors Deluxe Box came out and the song, fittingly titled Fuck Off, took it. Kill a DJ has 17 swear words and Fuck Off has 22. But hey, at least Uno still holds the record for the Green Day album with the most curse words. I think this one has 47 curse words if I recall. That's basically all I have to say about Uno. It's just a very underrated time that I don't exactly recommend, but you should at least give it a try. Following Uno in November 2012 was Dos, and oh my did they step down a bit. How dare you! Dos is super underrated, you just don't get it! Whatever man, I don't care. I don't like Dos at all. Dos isn't exactly a bad album per se, but it isn't a very good one either. Now, for whatever reason, especially recently, people have had a change of heart about Dos, many calling it underrated and one of the band's best albums. I am not one of those people. I don't care what you say, Dos is incredibly boring and mediocre most of the time. It is honestly frustrating seeing Green Day go from writing immaculate, deep and intricate masterpieces like Jesus of Suburbia or 21 Guns to whatever the hell fuck time is. Now, I'm not saying every Green Day album needs to just be American Idiot and Dookie again, of course not. But if they're wanting to try a new direction with the album or albums, then make it good. That's my point. Now, Dos isn't all bad. There are actually a few aspects of it that I like. Stop When the Red Lights Flash is genuinely amazing, I love it, and same for Stray Heart, but that's where my liking of this album comes to an end. Now I hate to be rehashing the same points that I've already made, but can we just all agree that Nightlife is genuinely one of the worst Green Day songs ever made? No? The bassline is good and that's why it's a good song? What? I will never get people who say that songs like Fuck Time and Nightlife are good. They are awful, immature pieces of Trek that nobody likes. I used to think that Lazy Bones was a really good song, but after re-listening it to Dose for this video, I have no clue why. Lazy Bones is just boring. I don't get the appeal for it and why I liked it initially. However, there is one more redeeming factor of this album, and that's the fact that most of Mike's bass lines on this album are actually really good. Make Out Party, Stray Heart, and even Nightlife have pretty good bass lines. But that's the only good part of some songs here. Also, the Amy Winehouse tribute at the end is genuinely beautiful. I love that. And in my opinion, it's the best closing song of the trilogy, but even then, it's still like a 5 out of 10. Overall, Dose is pretty bad. Not the worst thing ever, but I still don't like it at all. And now we arrive at the final album of the trilogy, Trey, released in December of 2012. Many consider Trey to be the trilogy's high point, but I disagree. Trey is a boring, monotonous, and stale experience. But that doesn't mean it's all bad. I will say, they have done a better job here than wherever the fuck Dose was, but it's still not very good. This album has its sentimental moments, like the opener Brutal Love, Amanda, and The Forgotten, but also has the more regular sounding Green Day songs like Missing You, X-Kid, and Walk Away. This album definitely gets a point for variety, something the trilogy was definitely needing since most of the songs sound the same. Out of the entire trilogy, hell, even Green Day's entire discography, this one is probably the one album with the most filler. So many songs in this album just have nothing to talk about. Drama Queen, Sex, Drugs and Violence, Amanda, Walk Away, The Forgotten, all of them are just really boring. Though this album does have two of my favourite trilogy songs, 99 Revolutions and Dirty Rotten Bastards, both of which are genuinely incredible songs that I strongly recommend you check out. But aside from those two highlights, this album is just nothingness. You'd think they'd try and make this album good considering it's literally named after Trey Cool. But no, it's just the same forgettable, boring mush as the rest of the trilogy. Overall, the trilogy is by far Green Day's most interestingly terrible experiment to analyse. It's not very good, but man is it weird as hell. Now, one thing that cannot go unaddressed with the trilogy was its live history. The trilogy had two main live tours, the Uno Dos Tres promo tour, which ran throughout 2011 and 2012, and then the 99 Revolutions tour, which ran throughout 2013. And possibly the most infamous show of the entire trilogy era, maybe even Green Day in general, was on September 21st, 2012, when Green Day performed at the 2012 iHeartRadio Music Festival. And wow, was it bad. The actual songs of the set weren't that bad. You have the usuals, American Idiot, Holiday, Longview, Basket Case, and even a few new songs like Oh Love and Fuck Time. But something was off. Billy Joel was 100% not sober during this show. He swears like a sailor, his voice sounds very slurred and not warmed up, he played Fuck Time live unironically, not in the best shape. This eventually led to possibly the most infamous moment of Green Day's entire career. Billy starts playing Basket Case, but near the final chorus he gives up and starts drunkenly ranting about having only 1 minute left to perform, and even calling out Justin Bieber for basically no reason. He then proceeds to smash his guitar before walking off stage, ending the concert in the process. Billy would enter rehab shortly after, delaying future shows for the trilogy. Thankfully, Billy would return from rehab a changed man, and the band would eventually begin serious touring for the trilogy in March 2013, with the rest of the trilogy's touring going on without a hitch. This moment has since been immortalised as one of the biggest memes in the Green Day fan community, so much so that r/Green Day made a bot for it that would automatically reply with the transcript of Billy's rant whenever someone would mention having 1 minute left. Now, what makes this whole situation even sadder is that it technically wasn't all Billy's fault. If you're not blind and deaf, then you'd have noticed that Billy keeps yelling at the top of his voice constantly throughout the entire concert. This is his trademark way of getting the crowd to go nuts. But for whatever reason, no matter how many times he yelled the name of the place he was in here, the audience was completely silent throughout the entire show. Even when Billy hopped onto the mosh pit during Longview, they barely did anything. So was it the alcohol? Yeah, probably. But it was also likely spite from a dead crowd. He certainly snapped for a reason, but said reason will probably never be known. Alright, so in the time between the trilogy and this album, a lot happened. The trilogy came out and flopped, Green Day got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Billy Joel teamed up with Norah Jones for a collab album, a demo album came out for the trilogy, and he even starred in 2 feature films, like Sunday Like Rain and Ordinary World. Eventually, in 2016, we got our next big studio record, Revolution Radio. And despite what I said in my initial ranking of the album, I wouldn't exactly consider this album to be boring. Generic and forgettable at times? Oh, absolutely. Pretty good overall? Probably, yeah. This one surprised me. When I first listened to Revolution Radio, I didn't get the hype. I thought it was boring and overrated and all those other keywords, and I still do think that to some extent. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Revolution Radio well enough. I think it's a pretty solid album, but there are so many little problems with this album that just bring it down for me. Bang Bang, the title track, Outlaws, Say Goodbye, Forever Now, Still Breathing, and Young Blood are all really solid, but the rest of the album just kind of blends in. Like, when was the last time you've heard someone unironically defend Too Dumb to Die, or Troubled Times, or Somewhere Now? Not very often. If I had to describe the sound of this album, I would do it like this. Revolution Radio packs the same politically charged punch that American Idiot did, but with the incredibly polished and slightly overproduced sound of the trilogy. It's basically like a mashup of different albums when it comes to how it sounds. The best word I describe to use Revolution Radio overall is underwhelming. Back when this album was going to be released, the band themselves and many publications were hyping this up as Green Day's comeback or something like that. And while I will say this album is better than most of the trilogy, there are a few aspects of the trilogy that better. All I'll say is Nuclear Family is better than all of Revolution Radio combined, no comment. My main problem with RevRad is how similar most of the songs sound. Like, if I wasn't reading the track list and keeping note of what song I'm on, I wouldn't even have noticed it had changed. That's how samey this album sounds most of the time. And yeah, if you like RevRad, that's fine, I get it. RevRad is a solid album with many flaws to hinder it from its true potential. But I will say, this is a better effort than whatever the fuck Dose was. So, this era was strange. Green Day tried all sorts of random experiments to see what their direction would be throughout the decade, and I don't think it would be controversial to say none of these ideas worked. And if they did, it didn't last that long. And no, before you ask, I'm not reviewing Father of All again. I get that album was mostly written and recorded in 2019, but it didn't release until February 2020, so I'm not including it. Cry about it. To be honest, I don't have a lot more to say about Green Day in the 2010s. I might as well rank. Dose is obviously at the bottom, no doubt about it, followed by Trey and RevRad, and then finally Uno at the very top. And that's pretty much all. Toodles.